All right, Monday, October 24th. I'm Tom Novak. Thanks for joining me for this update that's going to focus on the relatively quiet weather for this week. Now, today's going to feature some rain at least late this afternoon and evening over southeastern Minnesota and Wisconsin. But in general, we've got surprisingly a quiet weather pattern now ahead of us, but it wasn't over the last 24 hours. Take a look at where the rain fell here as we went through the last 24 hours. This is up till 8 a.m. this morning, and keep in mind the storm track was basically like this. That's where the low pressure system tracked overnight last night through South Dakota and eastern North Dakota, and on the northwestern side of that low track is where you got plenty of precipitation. So that's good news. They needed the moisture up there in North Dakota and Montana. But then, of course, on the southeastern side of that storm track, we were in scattered activity. So, yes, we did have thunderstorm activity last night, lots of lightning and thunder in some places, and there were some patches of heavy rain, but for the most part, many of us need a lot more, and we were unfortunately dry over a good chunk of southern Minnesota. And that is bad news because look at the drought index. Good chunk. In fact, much of the central and northern sections of the U.S., or at least the plains and portions of the Midwest and upper Midwest now have a severe drought or extreme drought. And then when we zoom in to Minnesota, the Twin Cities metro just can't catch a break. When you go from about Redwood Falls northeast through the Mankato areas along the Minnesota River up into east central Minnesota, and then this would extend into portions of western Wisconsin, it is unbelievably dry for this time of the year with a severe or extreme drought. So we need to work on that. But unfortunately, like I mentioned, I don't think it's going to happen here over the next, probably week. You'll see that in the extended forecast. Now, here comes moisture. This is the visible satellite loop. This is moisture that is streaming north now into Iowa and eventually southeastern Minnesota. This is going to be some rain, some much needed rain for the southeastern quarter of Minnesota, and definitely plenty of clouds for all of us, I think, here for the next 24 hours. Now, when we zoom out and look at the moisture channel loop, here it is. Here comes a dry punch now through western Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas, and on the nose of that dry air that is now starting to surge northeast and north into Iowa, you're getting rain and lots of it breaking out over Iowa, Missouri, Illinois, and eventually southeastern Minnesota here. So yes, a lot of areas that need the rain in the central portions of the country are starting to get at least a little bit of it here. So that is great news. Now, one of the big reasons why the Twin Cities metro and portions of southern Minnesota are missing out on the rain is because of the jet stream. Look at this. We have a jet streak at about 30 to 35,000 feet situated right over eastern South Dakota, southern Minnesota, and you don't want to be right under a jet streak. Okay, you usually want to be on the right rear quad of a jet streak or on the left front quad of a jet streak. Okay, and we're going to be talking a lot about this as we get into the winter season because this is key. The upper level dynamics and winds in the upper levels really are what dictate what happens at the surface. So again, when you're at the left front quad of a jet streak, which is where North Dakota, Montana was over the last 24 hours, and then here over southeastern Minnesota, Iowa, and Wisconsin, you're in the right rear quad of a jet streak. Those are the places that are going to get significant rain. But again, right under the jet streak is where it often stays dry because of a dry punch. Now watch what happens, by the way, to this jet stream as we go through time. Storm system stays for the most part south of Minnesota here over the next 2 to 3 days, and then we get into a relatively quick and fast west to northwest flow. But this now is what's really important as we get into this weekend. This is later Friday and Saturday. Look at how the main jet stream pattern now is well north, and the strong winds are well north of the Minnesota-Canadian border. That means we are going to be left in no man's land here over the northern sections of the U.S. If you like warm weather for this time of the year, you're going to love this weather pattern here over the next 6 to 10 days because we are going to be unseasonably warm the way it appears. Very similar to last weekend, and much of that has to do with the jet stream. All right, here's the rain now late this afternoon and into this evening as it streams north out of Iowa and into southeastern Minnesota. Hey, don't be surprised, and I'll show you this here in just a little bit, if we get a quarter to half inch of steady rains over southeastern Minnesota and Wisconsin. So good news there. But unfortunately, the Twin Cities Metro and portions of rest of southern Minnesota looks like will be dry, or at least not get much rain at all. And then that rain pushes off to the east. Now, how much rain can we expect? Well, here it is. Yes, once you get southeast of the Twin Cities Metro, the rain starts to pick up here late this afternoon and evening. And when you go into the Eau Claire and La Crosse, maybe even Rochester areas of Wisconsin and southeastern Minnesota, we could easily get a quarter to half inch of much needed rain as we go through time. Here's your radar as we get into this afternoon. There's the rain flowing up north out of Iowa and into southeastern Minnesota. And this area is going to fill in here over southeastern Minnesota and Wisconsin as we go through the next 6 to 12 hours. All right, here's your extended outlook. There it is. A little bit cool here as we get into Tuesday and Wednesday of this week, but temperatures go nowhere but up the way it appears, with plenty of sunshine, I think, for the rest of the week and into the weekend. I'm expecting a real similar weekend to last weekend here in southern Minnesota and western Wisconsin. Maybe a tad bit cooler, but still temperatures a good 10 to 15 degrees above the average. All right, that's your forecast. Thanks for joining me, everyone. We'll probably talk to you later this week.